22. The Art of Improvisation, about mathematics, music and attitudes in society. Walter, one of the three composers who had been sitting at Hoebroplas, woke up with a crash. It was Saturday morning. He had had a strange dream, a kind of parallel reality, almost identical to the one he himself lived in. In the dream, he participated as a musician in a large orchestra, where he alternated between playing the piano and the celesta. The work was written by a living Italian composer, but the name disappeared in the fog of the dream. The tonal language was strongly reminiscent of Olivier Messiaen, complex, colorful and deeply fascinating. The piano and celesta part was intensely demanding, both technically and mentally. Driving tempo changes and an overzealous conductor made the task almost impossible. Walter struggled with the notes in a nightmarish chaos. When he woke up, sweaty and confused, he was relieved to recognize his own bedroom. He lay there pondering. The dream was not unlike his own reality as a cantor, conductor, composer and orchestral musician. But in the dream it was as if he was faced with an inhuman challenge, an extreme version of himself as a musician. He gradually understood the connection. The dream was his brain's way of preparing him for an upcoming concert he was to conduct, a kind of horror vision of everything that could go wrong. 1 week remained, and the dream functioned as an internal dress rehearsal. Walter had received what one might call a traditional musical upbringing, albeit a privileged one. As early as the age of 5, he started in singing and play groups. His talent was quickly discovered. In the 1960s, in the infancy of television, he was invited to NRK at Marienlyst to sing in a children's program. Everything was broadcast live, and Walter drove around in an orange toy car, singing with effortless self-confidence. The response in the thousands of homes was overwhelming. The parents snapped pictures of the TV screen in pure pride. Then came piano lessons, a transition to something more serious. Walter proved to be a diligent student. And after Bach's inventions, he quickly tackled Chopin's waltzes, Beethoven's sonatas and even Liszt's virtuoso piano works, all by the time he was 11. He was described as a child prodigy. Nevertheless, he was a challenge for his piano teacher, Mrs. Baumann. Walter had an innate urge to do things his own way. He changed the notes, even in Mozart's sonatas. Baumann was in despair. Changing Mozart was unheard of. But gradually she became more puzzled than irritated. Walter didn't make random mistakes, he created creative variations. Even then, he had begun to compose his own pieces, even though she insisted that he focus on his homework. What she didn't understand was that Walter used the great masters as a springboard for his own musical ideas. He memorized the works and improvised over them, transposing to other keys, varying the themes, all in order to understand the music from the inside. Improvisation eventually became a central part of his musical development. He could sit for hours paraphrasing a Chopin nocturne or a prelude, but still had to meet the requirements of the piano literature to enter higher music education. He chose church music, the only study that truly valued improvisation. Here he particularly excelled in fugal theory, mirror reversals, augmentations and perfect symmetries came naturally to him, so precisely constructed that even mathematicians would be impressed. While studying, he met Wilhelmsen, who was also studying mathematics at the university. Inspired by their conversations, Walter began experimenting with mathematical structures in music, Fibonacci sequences, symmetries and even an attempt to compose a work based on Newton's law of gravity. After several years of deep immersion in Bach's organ works and countless performances in the Church of the Holy Trinity in Oslo, where he had been appointed as a substitute cantor, improvisation once again became the dominant expression. Inspired by Max Reger, he created advanced improvisations, so convincing that the audience thought he was playing written works. He was often asked about the composer. He could not answer. It was himself. One Sunday the church was filled with a particularly attentive audience. In the gallery sat the German record producer Eichmann. He froze in his pew, overwhelmed by the soundscape that filled the room. After the service, he approached Walter and offered him a recording session in his studio in Munich. Walter accepted, in broken German, and the details were quickly agreed upon. This was the start of over 200 albums of improvised music, recorded in one take, with minimal post-editing. Musicians eventually began to refer to the improvisations as compositions. The works were transcribed and published by Hertel Verlag. The sheet music sold in the millions.